Hey guys, welcome back to another review. Tuckz here. Today we're looking at the Roccat Kone Pro Air, which is basically a new shape coming from Roccat, and it's a wireless competitive gaming mouse. So let's dive in and check out what this mouse has to offer. So I've been using the Roccat Kone Pro Air for a few weeks now, and first thing I'd like to say is that there is a wired version of this mouse for almost about half the price. So if you want one that's a little bit lighter and you don't mind about a cable, then maybe head over and get that one. But if you want something wireless, this is a great option. I'm going to go through a few reasons why now. So first, let's talk about the coating. So the coating on the Roccat Kone Pro Air is really good. It's very rubberized. Now, if you've ever used the Kone Pure Ultra, I've heard it's very similar to that. But I will say that the sides are more rubberized than the top of the mouse. I'm not sure why this is. It could just be because they want to get the RGB through, but the sides and the back here are a more rubberized feeling, but it just feels really nice in the hand, feels really grippy, and I do really enjoy the coating. I've also heard it holds up quite well if it's the same as the Kone Pure Ultra, but you know, we're gonna have to see over time if it's the same or similar to that one. Okay, let's talk about the buttons. Now, coming from the Burst Pro was one of my favorite shapes I've ever tried, but the buttons, literally, even though I love the Burst Pro, the buttons were just too clunky. They were too heavy. Thankfully, on the Kone Pro Air, they've actually, you know, made them lighter. They are still optical switches, so you're going to get that long lifespan of optical switches, but they are just lighter. They don't feel as chunky. They just feel a little bit more refined. They're still not as good as your mechanical switches, but they are very good. They're not too heavy, not too light. I would say they're kind of like a medium light in terms of their tensioning, which I really enjoy. Also, scroll wheel. The scroll wheel is made actually of aluminium, which is interesting, or aluminum if you're from the NA. It's got a slightly rubberized feeling to the metal though. It's not like 100% just feels like cold metal. It actually feels almost like plastic until you like start scratching it. It actually feels more like metal then. But yeah, it's quite wide, quite nice to find steps. The only thing I don't like about it is when you press it, look at this, if I'm just scrolling, it might be hard to see. You can see, look, how much it bounces up and down. It seems to be, yeah, it seems to want to move up and down a little bit, maybe because it's bouncing on the button. But the click seems pretty well tensioned, and it does feel nice to scroll. I just wish it was a little bit more tighter in the socket, because it just feels like it's moving up and down a little bit when I move it. Then let's move on to the side buttons. The side buttons are good, but because of you can see how, you know, the thumb groove is, the buttons at the top are actually a little bit harder to reach than most mice, in my opinion. But they are nice and big, nice and chunky, so you're able to find them easily. They have, you know, a medium amount of travel. They're pretty good. On the better end of side buttons. The only downside to the side buttons I can find is that the back plastic side button, I can pull it out of the shell. And that just, I can feel that sometimes when I'm like moving my hand across the mouse in certain ways. I can just move this back and forth. Overall, the buttons are pretty damn good. They're not like, you know, next level. They're not exceptional like some companies we've seen recently, but they are pretty damn good. And you're getting optical switches, so they're not going to double click. Now, jumping onto the shape, and this is really interesting because this is a completely new shape to the Roccat Kone series. And I'm really digging the shape, to be honest with you. It's the best way I can describe it is kind of like an ergonomic XM1, or it kind of feels like an ergonomic G Pro wireless as well. And I know those two are very different, but there's just certain aspects of each of them that sort of, you know, fit into what this mouse feels like. And, you know, it's probably more closely related to the to an ergonomic XM1. And one thing I do like about this over the XM1 is the right side just seems to give a lot more space for your ring and your pinky finger. And it's very subtle, but right at the front here, the mouse curves inwards. And I really enjoy that because when I put my ring finger on there, I get a lot of grip around this area, partly because of the rubberized sides, but just the shape is very well done. The thumb groove on the side is extremely extreme, so yeah, your thumb really does get stuck in there, and I think that's going to be something that some people will need to get used to, just because, you know, a lot of companies are going for flatter sides, but I think now the thumb grooves are starting to catch on. So if you're buying a new mouse and you haven't in a while, I think this will be a nice addition for you. Overall, the shape is really good. You can see the hump is the highest point is kind of like the middle back. It's not all the way towards the back, but it's kind of towards the back a little bit, and it just allows you to get a good either palm grip or claw grip on this mouse. And I have heard people actually being able to fingertip grip it, and I think it's because of the way the sides are shaped. You can see it flares out pretty far back and it bends in a little bit here. It's really interesting. It looks quite weird from the base, like you can see the shape is completely what you wouldn't expect, but overall the shape is really nice. You get a nice bit of support for your thumb. The right side is really good. The triggers are a good height. They don't feel very high. They feel quite low down actually, and overall everything just feels really nice about the shape. The hump at the back is quite wide, and it's also not that tall, but it's tall. Like, it's hard to explain, but it just feels very good. It just seems like it doesn't get in the way of anything in your hand. My hand's 20 by 10, so I would say this mouse is designed for medium to large hands. But overall, you know, the shape just feels really good, and it actually goes into more like, see if I can show this on camera. You can see there's like a point right there. It's like almost like a triangle, and that just really just fits into the hand nicely. So overall, the shape is really, really good, and the balancing on it for a wireless mouse is exceptional. It's actually pretty close to how the Superlight feels in terms of its balancing. Just really, really good balancing for a wireless mouse, and that was the first thing I checked out of the box. I picked it up and I was like, yeah, they've done a good job. They've thought about this. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this mouse so far. The feet on the Roccat Kone Pro Air are actually really good. They're heat treated. They're very similar to the Roccat Burst Pro if you've tried them. They're, I would say, maybe a little bit better out of the box. They feel quite balanced. They're not too fast, not too slow. Maybe slightly slower than some PTFE ones we've had before, but they're very consistent. They're a really nice feeling, and I have no complaints on the feet. Okay, now how is the wireless performance and also the sensor? So the sensor is the new Owl Eye sensor, which is a PAW3370. So as you guys know, that's basically one of the best wireless sensors you can get at the moment. And it's flawless, to be honest with you. I've had no issues with it. The software, on the other hand, is a little bit clunky from Roccat, but I have heard they're working on a new software interface. So that's definitely going to be a welcome change. Just because, you know, it's just a, I don't know, just a bit dated of a looking software. Another thing as well is the, let me see if I can grab it and put it in frame. The actual dongle that is your, you know, your wireless receiver, I've had to plug it into the Logitech one, just because it doesn't come with an extender in the box. And, you know, for this price, I expect an extender in the box. And another thing that I didn't come in the box were extra set of feet. And I know that on the wired version, it does come with an extra set of feet. So that's another thing that I would say they kind of skimped on a little bit, which is a little bit disappointing. But, you know, overall, they've done a great job on this mouse, and I'm really happy with how Roccat have pulled this off. And just quickly lighting it up with the G Pro Superlight, so you can kind of tell the size similarities. So the size of the Kone Pro and compared to the Superlight is actually very, very close. They are basically the same length, although the base on the Superlight is a little bit shorter. But if you're happy, like, or if you've tried a G Pro wireless, or you've tried a Superlight before and you like the size, that's kind of what you're looking for there, but you want, you know, a slightly different shape, then the Kone Pro Air is going to be a really good choice. The triggers actually do feel a little bit lower on the Kone Pro, which I enjoy, and the shape overall is just better for me. I don't know why, but I've just gone off the G Pro wireless shape so much. Every time I put my hand on it coming back from a different mouse, it just feels so potato-y, like just so, I don't know, it just doesn't really fit my hand very well. But this is in the same size category. So if you like the size of the G Pro and you want a similar, you know, size but a different shape, then yeah, the Kone Pro is going to be a good option for you, especially if you're looking for a wireless option as well. Said it a few times already, Roccat have just done a very good job with this mouse. Overall, you know, from all the different bases, they've just really, you know, tried their best to do as good as possible. The only thing I can really complain about is their software, which is very, very out of date. The one good thing that they have in their software actually over other companies is that they have a signal like detection. So if the wireless receiver is in your PC, it will tell you if you have a good, bad, or excellent connection. And when I was plugging it into my PC, I only had a good connection, and then when I put the receiver into the extender, I was able to get an excellent connection because obviously it's closer. So that's one thing I will say, is they definitely should have put a extender in the box, as it would just be the icing on the cake. And also another set of feet if they could. That would also be much appreciated, because they did that for their wired version, which is half the price, which is interesting. So overall, you know, Roccat, really good job. I would definitely recommend either checking out this mouse or their future releases, because as a company, they're definitely, you know, doing a lot right, and they're basically trying to put the customer first and do what the customer will want. And it looks like they've spoken to pros or people who know what they're on about when making this shape as well, because it is really, really good, and I aim very well with it. And the comfort is also one of my favorites so far. So, you know, really, I just want some more time for myself to tell if it's going to be my main or not, because at the moment I'm bouncing between quite a few different options. I'm trying out Zeiss Rail, I'm trying out the Roccat Kone Pro, I'm also bouncing back to the Viper 8K a little bit. Also the G303 is a really fun one for me to use at the moment, and I'm going to be doing a review of this shape soon. But if you want to see that one, guys, hit the like button, hit the sub. That is my review of the Roccat Kone Pro Air. Roccat, you've done a really good job here, and I'm looking forward to what you come out with next. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching the review. Guys, thank you for all the support recently as well. It's been amazing. I can't thank you guys enough. And yeah, I just just very happy with the position I'm in right now, and I'm going to keep chugging out these reviews and trying to get as many as possible. I've got a few in the works already. So have a good rest of your day, guys. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.